I think it's important we go over the biggest change that we got from the previous 4 hour show to this one. And it's actually an upgrade, okay? And I'm going to give them credit. I think they heard the people and what they had to say in their criticism of the previous week, and they corrected that error big time this week. This week, we got at least a 2-inch thick dry-aged ribeye with Brussels sprouts, hold on, Brussels sprouts and asparagus, mashed potatoes. I bet those mashed were garlic mashed because the consistency was great.
Were they mashed or macaroni and cheese?
No mac and cheese. You don't want mac and cheese with your steak dinner.
Okay.
Too much flavor. You want the steak to be the star of Flavor Town when you're getting a steak like that. That was a phenomenal steak dinner. Cooked to perfection. We're talking medium rare to medium right there. That was a steak dinner worthy of a 42 belt holding champion. I think they got it right this time.
Yeah, it looks like they got it right, man. Listen, I think we may be the only one that really went in on that segment last night. How fucking ridiculous it was. Nobody did it as good as we did last week. Nobody went as hard in the paint as we did last week. So they clearly listened. Somebody listened and made the appropriate changes. It makes me wonder what the other ladies in that locker room are getting. And I'm sure it's not what Mercedes was having last night because it looked 1,000 times better than it did the previous week. Now, I don't know what she's going to do next week. Is she going to hit up Applebee's, Dallas BBQ? Is it going to be Bobby Flay Steakhouse? Where's she going?
I don't know. We might not get a Mercedes a dinner moment because it's a shortened stream, and maybe they're gonna stick to what is important. Who are we kidding? What's she gonna eat? Maybe a nice chicken breast. I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
who knows, man?
Yeah,
could be. Outside of that, I don't know. All right. All kidding aside, I did like the Kenny Omega segment. You know, you did point out that it was done before, but it's something that they need to touch on and not ignore. So they did that. They did add blood this time. The one thing I don't know if I like too much about that though is that it looks like the Don Callis family has another member now.
They added blood, bro. What the fuck are you talking about? Looks like fucking tomato paste. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, it was like coagulated blood. I don't know.
What type of blood was that, man? It was like fucking some children's food coloring that they'd fucking do finger paintings with, man. What the fuck is that?
Nah, food coloring is normally thin. That was dark. That was like chili paste or something. Man.
I don't know what darker. That was, man. Holy shit.
That was much darker, man. So we'll be looking at Kazuchika Okada in the Don Callis family now, man. There's too many members of the Don Callis family.
Why is he a part of the Don Callis family? Is he no longer part of the Elite? Does this mean the Elite and the Don Callis family are working together?
I'm left to assume that they are absolutely, positively in cahoots after that segment last night, and they all left together in the back of the SUV and everything. I'm working under the assumption that he has acquired the services of Kazuchika Okada. So the family keeps getting big. Half the company is becoming the NWO. Half the company is in the Don Callis fammy. And none of them have titles.
Why does he need Okada in the Don Callis family when
Okada has titles?
When Takeshita was the next second coming of Okada? Why does he need Okada?
I don't think it's about him needing Okada. It's more about Okada needing someone to be with. And the Bucks are tied up. I don't know what the fuck the Bucks are doing.
Bro, they were tied up. They were tied up together because last summer they all put Kenny Omega and Jack Perry put Kenny Omega out on a stretcher and wrote him off television, only for them to abandon it, never go back to it, and now they're doing the same angle again without the Bucks and Jack Perry, but Okada and Don Callis. So it's like, what did we watch last year? Did we watch a fucking imaginary show? Was it dreamt up? Was it a fucking dream that never happened?
So now the Bucks are tied up with Swerving Hangman, though. All right, and Okada is dealing with Omega, and Don Callis has a forever hard-on for Omega. So that's why they paired them together, and I guess that's the reason.
I don't know.
Guessing?
I don't know. None of it makes sense. They just rehashed the same thing that they did last year, minus 3 people, and added Don Callis. It's like, I thought we ended the Don Callis thing with Kenny Omega when Omega and Ospreay beat his boys. Like, why are we going back to that again? I don't get it.
So I'm with them in the boat of Okada needs to be with a crew. He shouldn't be by himself for the language barrier alone. But I don't understand why he's in the Don Callis family. I mean, the Young Bucks are off doing something else, and you want to have, Okada deal with Kenny, and I guess Don Callis fits in there. But it makes no sense. Like you said, it makes no sense that you have the new Okada in Takeshita already in the Don Callis family. I'm not sure if I like this pairing. And it seems like they just did it out of convenience because they do want Okada to be with someone, with a talker, and they just when in case of emergency break glass, use Don Callis, and it doesn't really fit. It doesn't really make sense either. I mean, the Bucks are not addressed. No one's addressed it. No one said, okay, we're no longer elite. The first time I've heard the word elite out of anybody was on Collision when the Bucks went outside of Ospreay's room talking, and no one's mentioned the elite until the Bucks mentioned it about Hangman. And Hangman's like, fuck this shit. You're not doing this for me. You're doing it for yourselves. Stay out of my business and everybody else's. No mention of Kazuchika Okada.
Nothing.
He's supposed to be in the elite with the Bucks.
Nothing. Not a single word.
And that's another thing. And this goes back to another segment that we're going to be getting into with Chris Statlander. You're starting to tease a heel turn for Chris Statlander.
Again.
You're about to set me off. You're about to fucking set me off.
We'll get to it, man. We don't want to jump in, man. That's on the list of things to talk about for sure.
My God, you're about to piss me off with Chris fucking Statlander going heel. I'm about to fucking throw some shit, man.
Do you want to know?
Don't do this again.
Do you want to know how I feel about this segment? Listen, I appreciate them trying to deliver more than they really need to, because I know they want to rest on their laurels, and everybody's a fucking smart mark over there. You should know about their classic matches over in New Japan that most of us never seen, all of them. I've watched a few of them, but they did exactly what Jesse had documented last week. We said last week, and Jesse said last week, that every week, we got 5 weeks, 6 weeks? They've had 4 matches. Now this is going to be the 5th match. Every week, you show us highlights of one match in chronological order about how important this feud has been for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and that it's happening for the first time on American soil. They did a 6-minute video package, which was very well done. I appreciate them doing that. I thought that was great. Outside that, I appreciate them trying to tell a story, but I cannot overlook the fact, A, the segment and the spot with Kenny Omega spewing out blood that looked completely unnatural. It looked like a scene out of fucking Alien, like the fucking huggers were just ready to burst through someone's chest. I thought a fucking xenomorph was going to fucking crawl in the ring with Okada and grab the new Unified title, which we'll talk about in a second. They have now theoretically written Kenny Omega off for the majority of the weeks left of TV for the build going into All In. Why did they do that? Because you can't be bothered to tell any more story about what's going on with these two, because they don't have any story outside of great wrestling matches. Here you are trying to manufacture something with the Don Callis family, and now Don Callis being paired with Okada, that you think it's best to write Omega off television because you can't be bothered to do anything else to build interest in this outside of reliving their past history. I find that to be incredibly lazy. I don't know how you feel about it, but that's the way I look at it, and that's what I thought about. First and foremost, I'm like, here he is. He's being written off television again. We did the same thing as we did last year again. There's no creativity there, bro. How do you feel about that?
I don't think they can afford. I don't think they can afford to write Kenny off of TV during this build. Not even for 1 week. They need to bring him back, wrapped up, beat up, and showing all of those bruises and sores and everything else from that beating, but making it a point that they are not gonna get rid of him that fucking easy, and they got to do better than that. They cannot just do this beatdown that they did and then say, okay, we'll see you at All In. That's an automatic fail of a build right there alone. They need him there every week. If you want us to believe this is an important match, then he needs to be there every fucking week to prove it to us. This will not work. The segment works fine as part of the build, but that can't be the build. You can't just leave him off TV, bring him back on the go-home show, and say, look, he's going to make it. That's not going to do it. Okada is not good enough to carry a feud on his own. He can't carry his own live promo. That's not going to be enough. All right? You need to wheel Kenny's ass. I'll give you 1 week. I'll give you 1 week without Kenny. Maybe he's not going down to Mexico. Fine. But the very next Dynamite, his ass needs to be on television, extracting revenge, and letting us know that he plans on beating the holy shit out of Okada coming. Oh, you cannot do that. That's an automatic fail for what you're trying to tell us is going to be the biggest match in AEW history.
Well, I mean, coming out of last night's show, I'm not sure what the fucking main event of All In's going to be, because it certainly felt like this was going to be the main event of All In coming out of last night's show. I hope that's not the case, because if you know anything about AEW, if they're main eventing with this, and this is the last thing you see on the show, Hangman is shit out of luck, bro. We ain't getting we ain't getting that championship off Moxley at least until October, man. And that is fucking awful. So I hope to God that they're not thinking that, because you know how big of a mark Tony is, and he's fucking jumping for joy and fucking sitting there like a little kid that he's getting his match here on American soil. 5th match between these guys. Yeah, I hope you're right. I hope he's back after Mexico, and they already got that show booked. There's like a bunch of nothing matches booked for that show next week, and hopefully the week after that, they do bring Omega back. Now, the contract signing was not only for the match at All In, but AEW did something that I was looking at as a good thing going in. I'm like, they got to do it. They got to unify these titles. They got to merge these titles together. Either we keep the International Championship and retire the Continental Championship, or we merge them into a new AEW Intercontinental Championship. It was right there. This contract signing unveiled a new championship. It is not the International Championship rebranded. It is not the Intercontinental Championship. Jesse, they unveiled the new AEW Unified Championship. Now, I don't know what the fuck a Unified Championship is.
What is Unified?
I don't know, but you had people, Mr. Baydala, love him. He's like, didn't you want this? Didn't you call for this? I'm like, yeah, I did, but nobody asked for a unified title, bro. No, nobody asked for a unified title. This was some of the worst creative that AEW has done all year. I don't know who's in their creative department. I'm looking at you, Will Washington, and fucking everybody else over there. This is awful. What a ridiculous name. So this is the news from Fightful. I want to read this before we get into our opinions on this. The Intercontinental Championship is not a thing. The International Championship and the Continental title are going to be merged into a unified title. We were told that this match has been on the table as a tentative plan between Okada and Omega for almost a year, and that the firm plan was to get the match done at All In, dating back to December, right before Kenny Omega's New Japan return, where he wrestled Gabe Kidd at Wrestle Kingdom. We have not heard that Intercontinental title was even considered for a name, but all indications that were given to us about the title is that it would be booked and perceived as another top championship in AEW as opposed to a mid or upper mid-card title. The match announcement was credited internally as the reason why AEW moved over 1,400 tickets in the last week for All In. For those asking about the future of the Continental Classic as a result of this announcement, the word is that the tournament is here to stay. Now, good on them for selling 1,400 tickets. That's what's supposed to happen. It's like a new revelation. Everybody's surprised. Like, this is what happens when you announce major matches for your show. People are going to want to come out and spend money to go be there live. Jesse, the Unified Championship, you know, it's a nice-looking title. I wouldn't say it's a great-looking championship. It almost reminds me, I don't know if you thought the same way, about the old school, that first iteration of the AEW Women's Championship that Riho held. It was very, very tiny in comparison. Almost similar to this. It's got a very New Japan Championship feel here. But the report from Fightful is saying that this is going to be perceived as another top championship in AEW. Now, I don't know what that means because clearly anybody with a functioning brain over here knows that the International Championship and the Continental Championship are nowhere even in discussion about being top championships in the company. They are absolutely bottom of the barrel, mid-card championships. You could not find two worthless titles more so than those championships in all professional wrestling. Yet you want me to believe that this unified title is going to be something special when the lineage of the Continental title doesn't expand past Okada and Eddie Kingston. Give me a break. And the International Championship, I don't even know who else held the championship outside of Ospreay, MJF, and Orange Cassidy for, what, 300 days or so? Give me a break. It's two worthless championships. They had it right there. Intercontinental Championship should have been the thing. But if you want me to believe that this title is going to be anything more than what the current titles are right now, you are a fucking fool. But what does that mean? Another top championship. Do you know what that means to me? You know how I see that? It means to me that they're going to book this, seeing as who's competing for it, as yet another quote-unquote world championship. It's going to be world title B compared to the AEW world title, which is A. It's going to be their version of the world's heavyweight championship currently held by Gunther, where John Cena holds the WWE Championship. It's not going to lead to a brand split, but they're going to need another title because, why, chat? Is Jon Moxley going to retain at All In? Is Jon Moxley going to hold the championship captive for another 4 months before we get to Darby Allin? And they need desperately another world championship for everybody else to fight over, and that's going to be the title that's going to be the top prize outside Jon Moxley's title, Jesse. Did you get that same feeling from this?
Wow, that's a lot. All right. So unified title. So when we talk about this title down the road, we talk about this title a couple of years from now, and someone comes into the company and a fan comes into the company and says, "Which title is this?" Oh, that's the unified title. Well, what was unified? Kind of don't fucking remember. You know what I'm saying? What makes it what exactly did you unify? Who's gonna remember past another few months or so what exactly and why exactly it was unified for it to just be the name? So when somebody asks, "Well, I thought that's what you wanted," no one wanted the titles to be unified and be giving a ridiculous name. You can call it the Popcorn Championship. Does that mean that's what we wanted? That's not what we fucking wanted. Can you make it sound like it makes any fucking sense?
How does that sound prestigious as well, you know?
I mean, just make it important. And now, if you want to make it this important, so to the point you want to make it just as equal as your world title, I think that's a huge mistake. You're not making that title more important. You're making your world title less important. All right? You've only had one world championship since you started. That is your most important title. I don't care what you tell us. You just created this title because Kenny and Okada had two different titles that you wanted to merge. So you did. Smart. But that doesn't make it a world title. That just makes it a unified title of two titles that you didn't know what to fucking do with. It is not bigger than or just as big as the inaugural AEW world title, the one originally held by Chris Jericho, the one that was representative of your top wrestler in your company since the company started. Every other title in this company except the first women's championship is beneath it. It's just the goddamn way it is. I don't know what kind of story they're trying to tell, but I'm not buying it as it being an equal title. It's a mid-card title. It's just a fucking mid-card title. It is the TNT title. It is a mid-card title. Why? Because it is not your world title. So I don't know what they're trying to sell us, but I'm not fucking buying that bullshit.
No, I agree 1,000% with what you said. The TNT title's worthless. The Continental title's been worthless. The International Championship's been worthless. None of these titles, since the early days of AEW, and I'm talking about the days of Cody and Brody Lee, they haven't had story since. So I don't know how you could even claim that these titles are important when you just throw them out on the fucking the bottom of the barrel hour on Collision on a Saturday night and have Danny Garcia defended against fucking whoever on Saturday night in front of 200,000 fucking people. That's not a title that AEW considers important. None of these titles revolve around story. Nobody is chasing these titles. They are used as a vehicle to make people feel important that aren't important to the fans' point of view. I don't know how many times I need to tell you, these titles are worthless and they need to feel prestigious in order for the fan base to care about them. How many times can you constantly change a look of a title, a prestige of a title, or a fucking name of a championship and have it feel the same way? You're losing appeal and you're losing the prestige of the said championship. It's not prestigious anymore after that. It's like fucking, what's a good example? It's like doing, what's a good example that goes along with that?
So if you make something and you tell us it is the absolute best that there is, and then you tell us that this one is just as good 5 or 6 years later, that tells me that your original is not as good as you told us that it was, and that this one is not as equal to that. I feel like you've devalued both. I feel like you want me to believe that that a AAA minor league is just as good as being in the majors. Like it's just as good. It's the same thing.
It's like, and I'm going to use them as an example because everybody knows who they are, and they're one of the biggest musical acts of all time. It's like a fan saying Metallica's Black Album, which is their most commercial album ever, is their best album. No, it ain't. How the fuck can you as a band say that this is our best musical album when Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All came before that? What are you, fucking stupid? How are you supposed to say something like that and ask me to believe in something like that? No, it's not. It's not. You could sit there and say everything that's new is the best. No, I fucking hate that. No, this title's going to be new. It's going to be the most prestigious. It's going to be just as valuable as the World Championship. No, it's not. How could you say that? And it goes back to what Jesse said. The more you say that, it lessens the value of the world title. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah. If you're telling me this title that I have no faith in is just as important as the title that I thought I had a lot of faith in, I'm going to lose faith in your world title instead of giving you more faith for this one. That's not how it works. I mean, and look, if that is your plan, if that's what you want to do, you can best do that by booking. So you need to keep the world title as the most important title and then book this new title that you want us to believe is equally as strong. You have to keep that title booked as strong while not ignoring the world title at the same damn time. So now you as a company who collectively, let's put our cards on the table, have not been telling great stories as of late, you need to double it up. You need to tell great stories for your world title and also great stories for this new title that you want me to believe is just as important. You need more compelling stories. We're still waiting for you to get your bloodline level storyline. And now you got to do it twice if you want me to believe this new title is just as important as your world title.
Because Roman Reigns held the Universal Championship for almost 4 years, it's more prestigious than the WWE title? No, bro. No, I don't give a fuck who's. He could have held it for 14 fucking years. I don't give a shit. It's not as prestigious as the WWE title. It doesn't matter who's holding it. And that's what Sap is trying to project to everybody, even on social media. No, it's a mid-card title. And it should be a mid-card title because the AEW title is the most important title that represents your company. Not this match because Tony's going to fucking jerk off to Okada and Omega on American soil for the first time. I mean, that's just utterly ridiculous to even think about.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, oh, they couldn't do Intercontinental Championship, JD. I see this discussion now on social media as well. Because if they name it the Intercontinental Championship, then there'd be criticisms that they're copying off WWE. Who gives a shit? You got no fucking problem mentioning WWE any other time. So what's the difference if you take their name and take Intercontinental Championship? Who gives a shit? It would have made sense for your brand, for your title, for your show. Now, all of a sudden, now you're concerned about the comparisons to WWE. Every other fucking week, they got no problem mentioning WWE this and WWE that. That's a lame excuse. It was right there. Unified title means nothing at the end of the day, no matter who's holding it. I don't give a fuck who Omega and Okada is.
Yeah, combining these titles admits to us that you know you have too many fucking titles. You have too many championships, unnecessary championships, and you're trying to consolidate. Fine. That is the right thing to do. but you can't really try to convince us that you now have 2 world titles.
Bro,
Unless you have a brand split.
Yes. The thing is, what a lot of the sickos don't understand is that they have 2 championships now, merging into one unified title. They're only going to add women's tag team titles at the end of all this anyway this year, and they'll be right back in the same boat with just as many titles. So you're taking away one and adding another one that is just going to be more fucking worthless than anything else in the fucking industry. So what's the point? What is the point?
I don't get it. I don't
know who. I don't know. Like, somebody there has to speak. It seems like nobody gives a fuck. They make a decision. That Tony's gonna like it. Let's do it. Are you booking for Tony? Or you booking for the best of the company? Come on, man. Just utterly ridiculous.
Well, you can book for the best of the company, and you got to run it by Tony, and Tony doesn't like it and kick it back. Then your ideas aren't getting through.
Just too many championships. There's too many championships, and none of them have been booked as important. None of them. TNT title's worthless. The fucking AEW Championship hasn't been seen since October. We're going on almost a full year. Where is it? I don't even remember what it looks like. Come on, bro. That's awful.